Speaker recognizes Representative Bruck.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. On August 31st of 2020, our governor ordered all the flags in Michigan, U.S. and state flags, be flown, raised to topmast and lowered to half-mast in honor of Monroe Township Fire Department Captain Joseph Liedel. He passed away August 24th of 2020. In a statement released by Governor Whitmer, she said, "Our state mourns the loss of Captain Joe Liedel, who dedicated his life to the type of service and duty that we look for in our great public servants." Who was Joseph Liedel, and what did Captain Joseph Michael Liedel do? Today, Madam Speaker, I rise to give honor to the life and service of Joe Liedel. Joseph Liedel was a volunteer fireman, firefighter for Monroe Township Fire Department. Joe Liedel, as a young boy, he joined the Young Firefighters Explorers, and he had one desire in life, and that was to become a firefighter. When he turned 18, he joined the force. He served for over 28 years at this volunteer fire department in Monroe. The Charter Township lies just south of the city of Monroe. Joseph Liedel was loved by all. He was respected by all. He rose in the ranks from just a firefighter to a lieutenant, and then in 2019 to the rank of captain. Joseph Liedel, right after 9/11 occurred, got 7 of his fellow firefighters to go to New York to assist in the recovery efforts at the Ground Zero World Trade Towers. Joseph Liedel is said went on over 30% of the calls. Now, there are 2 types of fire departments in Michigan, or I should say around the country. There's the full-time, professional, paid fire departments and volunteer fire departments that are paid for that call. So when they go on call, Madam Speaker, they get a small stipend. There's many similarities. Firefighters are service-oriented. They want to help and save, and they put their life on the line each and every day. There's many similarities between the full-time fire departments and the volunteer fire departments, but there are many differences as well. One being pay, one being time off. Full-time fire departments, you work a 48-hour shift, 48 hours off, or some degree to that. But in a volunteer fire department, you're on call 24/7. You get called and you go to the fire or you go to the emergency call, because if you don't, they are going to have to wait on someone else to come. Last year, the Monroe Charter Township Fire Department did over 2,800 calls. That's a lot of calls. They have 30 members in that department, all volunteers. That's a lot of calls per day. In the 28 years that Joe Liedel served on that department, it's estimated that that fire department did over 40,000 calls. After speaking to past Chief Larry Merkel, who was the chief for 38 years in the township, he said that almost every call Joe was there. He was well over the 30% call ratio. That means he showed up for over 30% of the calls. That means Joe Liedel himself, in 28 years of service, did well over 13,000 calls. He was service-minded. I spoke to his father yesterday, James Liedel. He retired after 30 years from the full-time fire department in the city of Monroe. He worked with his son on many occasions because there's a mutual aid agreement between the two. They're right next to each other. I spoke to him, and I tried to get him to come today, but he said it's too soon, which I understand. He lost his son and a fellow firefighter. But I asked him for some notes. What would you like me to say about your son when I speak on the House floor? How can I honor your son? He said one thing Joe always wanted to do was follow my footsteps. His only goal in life was to follow my footsteps and become a firefighter. Everyone knew him. Everyone loved him. Everyone had good to say about him. I would love to live my life and have that said. He said when we went on calls, people looked for Joe Liedel. And they asked the question, what do you need? He said whether it was the firefighters from the city of Monroe or the volunteers from the Charter Township or another mutual aid, he said everyone knew when Joe was on the job, they were in good hands. And as his voice broke, he said, it seems like just yesterday. However, it's been 3 years. I can't believe he's gone. But we ended on a happy note. He was telling me stories about Joe and what Joe would do. And he said, Joe, at one call, he said, this is a comical one. He said, everyone was looking for Joe, and they found Joe. They saw Joe kneeling on the grass off to the side from a residential fire that they had went to. And Joe was leaning on the grass, and they went up to Joe, and here he was with a puppy, giving the puppy oxygen because the puppy had come out of the house. And his father said that was Joe to a T. He said Joe loved and served humanity, and he also loved all God's creatures. He said Joe was just an incredible person. So today I ask my fellow colleagues to vote, consider voting on 4845, renaming a portion of South Dixie after Captain Joe M. Liedel. And this portion, mile-long stretch of M125, otherwise known as South Dixie, goes from Dunbar south to Albin Road. And it goes in front of the fire station. The Monroe Charter Township Fire Department is located in that stretch of road where Joe served for 28 years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question before the House is the passage of the bill. Speaker recognizes Representative Bruck.
Madam Speaker, I would like to recognize this morning Lieutenant Scott McCarty and Chief Mark Cherney, as well as Lieutenant McCarty's sons, Brian and Harrison. They both serve and have served, they both served with Captain Liedel, and they are here today in the upper gallery.
Colleagues, please join me in welcoming the guests of Representative Bruck and thanking them for their service. The question before the House is the passage of the bill. A record roll call vote is required. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will open the board. The clerk will close the board, tally, display, and announce the vote.
Madam Speaker, on the question of final passage of House Bill 4845, there are 104 aye votes and 0 nay votes.
Majority of the members elected and serving having voted therefore, the bill is passed. Speaker recognizes Majority Floor Leader Ayash.
Move for immediate effect.
Majority Floor Leader moves for immediate effect. All those in favor will rise. Immediate effect is ordered. Speaker recognizes Representative Bruck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to open the bill for co-sponsorship.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will open the board. The clerk will close the board, tally and display the co-sponsorships.